intuitive considering the SI goes they will win the World Series in 2017, but I just don't think that's realistic.
No,
You know what? Here's my bold prediction. The Cubs will win a World Series before the Astros do.
Oh, we've got some stuff to talk about later in the show about the Cubs.
Yeah, definitely. But we're going to move on to another manager in the AL West leaving. This time it's a resignation from Ron Washington, citing personal reasons that GM John Daniels says not related to drugs. Washington sent a text to USA Today Sports saying, "Need some time, I'll be back." What are your first thoughts on the resignation of Ron Washington?
Well, my first thought was I was pretty surprised, to be honest. He's a pretty long-time tenured coach of the Rangers. This was his 8th season. He had a lot of success back-to-back AL pennants in 2010 and 11. They couldn't quite get that World Series championship, but to be honest, I think he's stepping out at the right time. When your team is going downhill, the Rangers are literally at rock bottom. They're on a 7-game losing streak, worst record in the MLB by, I don't know, probably like 8 games. They're 4 wins below the next best team, or next worst team. So I think Ron Washington, he's 62 years old. I think this should be a more permanent move. Now, Miles, when you look at the Rangers' potential options for a succeeding manager, they might not have to look that far. They already have Tim Bogar, who I know as a Red Sox fan was a great bench coach, and he suffered with us through that Bobby Valentine era. He's been a number of places. He's had a lot of success in the minor leagues. Do you think Tim Bogar could be a potential long-time replacement for Ron Washington?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I think he's a very good bench coach. He's had sustained success in the minor leagues. The real question with the Rangers is, their pitching, to put it bluntly, sucks. Honestly. With Yu Darvish down for the season, this team really, really, really bad. So what the hope is that next year, the Rangers will get the first overall pick and draft Michael Matuella, right-handed pitcher from Duke University, who's expected to be probably the favorite to go 1-1, and has a good chance to reach the major leagues within 2 seasons of being drafted. And he can be an ace. But that won't solve all their problems, because this team has hitting problems too. Maybe if Prince Fielder's healthy, they'll get a little bit better. But the thing I worry about the Texas Rangers is the team went to 2 straight World Series titles. And do you agree with me? They probably should have won at least one of those.
I thought they should have won. Who did they play? They played the Giants and the Cardinals. Okay, the Cardinals, yeah.
Yeah, so I think, I definitely think that this team used to be very good, and I don't really know what happened. I mean, they kind of just fell off. So
it's kind of weird. They acquired Prince Fielder, and everyone was expecting that to be a huge move. And now you look at their roster, and you see guys you've never heard of, Aducci, Chirinos, Odor. I mean, if you're not a big baseball follower, you might not know who these guys are.
Yeah, definitely. I think, that, that this would be a tough team for any manager to manage. It's tough because they're struggling to put together real talent, and that is, like, I don't know, I feel like this team has some talent. As you said, they have a couple no names, although Rougned Odor is actually top prospect, but that's out of the picture. But I think this team, I think it'd be a tough team for any manager to manage, because John Daniels is a great GM, and I have no doubt in my mind he'll get this turned around. But let's be honest, the Prince Fielder for Ian Kinsler trade was pretty much a disaster, at least for the first season. You agree?
Oh, yeah, that did not work
Ian
out.
Kinsler goes on to be an all-star. Fielder gets lost after 40 games. So, that one clearly did not work out, but they have room for improvement in the future, and I think I think this team is going to get better. I really think this team is going to get better. But, we'll see what happens. But either way, the AL West is going to be a very good division if the Astros and the Rangers really get back, because you already have three really good teams in the Mariners, Angels, and A's. All three teams which are going to make the playoffs this year, in my opinion, and all three teams which have a chance to go deep in the playoffs, in my opinion. So this is a talented division. Maybe one day they'll take over the AL East crown, as I still think, well, maybe not this year, but I think this year the most competitive division actually is the AL West. So not even take it over. I think they already have it for most competitive division. Anyway, we're going to talk now a little bit about the AL East. We're going to talk about Masahiro Tanaka. He intends to pitch again for the season for this He intends to pitch again this season for the Yankees to confirm his right elbow can handle the stress of pitching, that he will not need to undergo Tommy John surgery. He's not appeared in a game in almost 2 months and was set back by elbow soreness a couple weeks ago. Do you think Tanaka can help the Yankees make one last desperate push for the postseason in the captain's farewell year? Do you think this is a good move for Tanaka, or will he potentially hurt himself again?
I personally think that he'll be okay. He's not a guy, from what I know, that's prone to injury. Obviously, the age, 25 years of age, as we discussed last show, it's a vulnerable time. A lot of those young up-and-coming pitchers get Tommy John surgery, but I think he pitched a while in Japan, and generally speaking, from what I know, in Japan they pitch a lot. And, if he survived a solid 7 seasons there, I think, I think he'll recover from this just fine. I think him coming back in September it won't hurt him. The Yankees, in my opinion, are just too far out. And to be honest, I'm expecting a run from them. I'm expecting it to be close. By no means am I expecting the Yankees to lay over, because I've watched baseball long enough. As a Red Sox fan, I've seen the Yankees do everything imaginable. Just, people rule them out. They criticize them for this, for that, and they just, they'll acquire this guy and do this. I don't think that they're going to actually get into that second wild card spot, but I think the motivation of trying to give Derek Jeter something to play for in his final season, will motivate them to make a run, but ultimately they don't have enough depth, specifically pitching-wise, without CC Sabathia. Even if Tanaka comes back, I don't think Tanaka's in top form. So, what do you think? Now, here's an interesting topic that I've seen circulating around. Do you think the Yankees have kind of screwed themselves, to put it, bluntly, for the coming seasons by their terrible minor league system? They have one of the worst minor league systems in baseball. Do you think they could have some struggles making the postseason in the post-Jeter era?
I'm going to disagree with you. They don't have a terrible one. They have a middle ground. I'd rank it in the 15 to 20 range in terms of minor league systems. They have some impact prospects: Luis Severino, Gary Sanchez, Ian Clarkin, Aaron Judge, Eric Jagielko. But behind that, it's a little thin. So I would agree with you that it's not great, but I'd give it middle ground. They have those 5 guys who are probably the 5 best guys in the system, all of whom would compete for a top 100 spot in terms of top major league prospects. But behind that, it's a little bit thin. But I would agree with you. I think the Yankees might have some struggles without Derek Jeter. I definitely think that. But another thing that I think is that this is not... I don't think Tanaka should pitch again this season. Now, Jeremy Hefner pitches for the Mets, but he recently tore his UCL again in a rehab start. And what interests me about that is that he had been cleared to pitch, but he'd been experiencing elbow soreness before his rehab start. And of course, what is Masahiro Tanaka experiencing? General elbow soreness. I say that with air quotes. General elbow soreness. Now, that's a little interesting to me, because you really didn't want general elbow soreness for a pitcher of Masahiro Tanaka's caliber. But, really, I think Tanaka should come back next season strong. I think he really doesn't want to risk his development, even though he's almost really developed, but I really don't think he wants to risk himself being injured again, I think he really wants to have the best season possible, and in order to do that, he needs to be fully healthy, which I think he needs to rest the rest of the year. And honestly, I probably would have gotten Tommy John surgery if I were him. Just gone for the surgery, came back. High success rate from Tommy John. What do you think? You think coming back would be good or bad? You think he'd re-tear? Have a full tear?
Well, again, he's 25, and we've seen, to mention a few, Steven Strasburg, Jose Fernandez, Matt Harvey. You could go on. I personally, again, if he has Tommy John, he misses next season. So, do you want to do that? Because the problem is, this is his rookie year in the MLB, and if it's one thing when you're the first overall pick and you're Steven Strasburg. It's another when you're coming over Japan and you don't want the you're afraid of getting the reputation of Hideki Irabu, of Daisuke Matsuzaka. Those are guys who had short-term success. I don't think Irabu had any success, but Matsuzaka had short-term success, and then they both just fell off the radar. I don't think Tanaka, to be honest, my opinion is he doesn't want to end up like that. I think he's afraid that if he just, I want to use the right word, if he cops out, that's maybe what he's thinking. If he's not there for them, and for the second half of his rookie season and for it all in his second year, I think he feels like he's not being there for the team, being paid this giant contract. So I don't think anyone can talk him into Tommy John surgery at this point. Do I think it's smart? To be honest, I think it is, but I don't think he's going to do it. And I think this Yankees rotation will really benefit from even having him at 80%, so anyway, moving on to the next topic. Danny Duffy was removed from Saturday's start after just one pitch. That is all. He left due to soreness in his left shoulder. Okay. He left due to soreness in his left shoulder. If Duffy goes to the DL, how do you think this affects the AL Central race, and is he a crucial component to the Royals' postseason?
Yes. He hasn't been great. He has a 2.42 ERA, but a 3.69 FIP. 6.9 Ks per 9. I'm not going to go too deep into the stats. Danny Duffy is a good left-handed starter in this rotation. I read an interesting column from a website. I can't remember the website, but it suggested that if the Royals want to go deep into the playoffs, they should ditch Jeremy Guthrie and go with a four-man rotation. Now, they just released Bruce Chen, so now they've got a rotation that has James Shields, Danny Duffy, Yordano Ventura, and one other. Who am I missing?
Jim Shields?
I had said, whatever. James Shields, Yordano Ventura, Danny Duffy. The other name will come to me. But they have a pretty good rotation right now, so it's not terrible, but I think it has room for improvement.
Jason Vargas, that's your guy.
Jason Vargas, yes, Jason Vargas. So if they went with a four-man rotation of Shields, Vargas, Ventura, Duffy, that gives you a left-hander, two left-handers, two right-handers, a flamethrower, and an innings eater, and then two solid left-handers, and then an elite closer in Greg Holland, some other elite relievers in Wade Davis and Kelvin Herrera. So they have a very good pitching staff and good hitting. I think the Royals will win the AL Central regardless of what happens to Danny Duffy. But hopefully he is not out for an extended period of time, as that would hurt the Royals' playoffs hopes significantly.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with the fact that Duffy is so key to their rotation. Danny Duffy, in my opinion, is pretty underrated, and you know why? He's only won 8 games. He's 8-11. He gets virtually no run support. He has the third best ERA in the AL, not just the best ERA in the team. The best ERA, or the third best ERA in the AL at 2.42, like you said earlier. I think he's key, because if you don't have him, you have an unproven postseason pitcher, Jason Vargas, and for that matter, he's been he's been solid, but this is definitely a career year for him.